If you've ever colored your own hair and wound up with big mist patches or spots, then this video is for you. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you the technique that we as pros use for covering the hair evenly. This is the base application that you would use for any root touch-up, full color application, toner, or color melt. Now let's go over a few base tips before we begin. If you can, I recommend starting with a mirror situation so that you can see the back of your head. If your bathroom sink has a medicine cabinet mirror that pulls out, this will work well. Now, over time with practice, this will get much easier. You'll end up developing muscle memory, and I've gotten to the point where I almost don't need a mirror in front of me at all. My arms have memorized the movements that I need to make, and I can feel when I've covered every area on the hair. At first, there will be times where your arms seem to be going in the opposite direction that you mean to because you're looking in the mirror. But over time, this goes away, and I promise you will get better at it. Now, ideally, you'll want to cover over clean hair rather than dirty hair. This is because the color is not going to penetrate through the layers of product buildup and oil as easily as it will if the hair was freshly washed. That being said, if your scalp is sensitive to hair color, then coloring your hair on day 2 or 3 can be helpful. Having a little bit of your natural oils present is going to help soothe your scalp, and you won't likely have as much irritation from the ammonia in the hair color. Now today, I'm going to be starting in the back of my head, and I wanted to point out that there is actually a reason for this. In my situation, I am going lighter, and my natural hair in the back is a little bit darker than my natural hair up front. This is because I have more grays up front, and the hairs around my face are naturally just a little bit lighter than they are in the back. So because of this, I want to apply the color in the back first so that it processes a little bit longer than the hair in the front. Now, if you have the opposite situation and you're trying to cover stubborn grays, you'll actually want to start in the front of your head because you'll want the color to sit on this area for the longest.
Okay, so to begin, you're going to brush out all of your hair to make sure that there are no tangles. And part your hair in the middle. I find this just to be the easiest, although you don't necessarily have to. But you're going to section the hair out into 4 equal quadrants with 2 in the back and 2 in the front. And you'll start by outlining the first quadrant before taking the individual sections. I go through the entire perimeter of the quadrant, including the quadrant next to it. So the quadrant next to it gets hit as well, and this is just to make sure that you're getting your proper saturation and no spots are missed. Next, you'll start taking your sections, working from the very top down to the bottom. Now, the size of your section should be anywhere between 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thick. I don't recommend going over 1/4 of an inch thick because you will likely miss spots. The hair needs to be fully saturated in order to be covered properly, and the smaller section you use, the better. Typically, if you have thick hair, you're going to need to take very small sections, and if you have thin hair, you can afford to go a little bit thicker, but pay attention to how thin the sections are I'm taking here. If you'll notice, when I take this section, I look in the mirror to make sure that the section is not too large. Then I look away, and because of muscle memory, I can feel that I'm hitting the entire section of hair. And if you'll notice, I'm hitting both the top and the bottom. So each section of hair is getting hit twice, once on each side. Another tip that I have found really helpful is a good way to tell if you have properly saturated the hair is if the hair is staying up on its own like that. If the hair is falling down and you're having a hard time getting the already applied pieces to stay out of the way, then you likely didn't saturate them properly. Proper saturation will allow the hair to stick up in place and not fall back down. All right, and now we're going to move on to the next quadrant, and again, we're going to go over the perimeter of the hair and hit the quadrants next to that quadrant as well. And then we're going to do the same thing starting from the top, working our way down to the bottom, taking 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch sections and making sure that the hair is fully saturated. Now I'm going to go ahead and speed this up since it's basically the same thing that we just watched for the other side. If you want to skip to the front, you can go ahead and jump to the next chapter ahead. Okay, for the front, it's realistically the same exact thing. You're gonna go through and outline the perimeter and then work your way from the top of the section all the way down to the front bottom piece in front of the ear. Now I have slowed this down again just so you can see the application for the front, and then I'll speed it up once we get to the last section. Okay, now once you're done applying the color, it's a good idea to thoroughly look through the back and make sure you haven't missed any spots. Then I like to put my hair in a plastic cap as well as wrap it with a towel, and this is to hold the heat in as well as stop the color from drying out, but this isn't totally necessary, especially if you're just doing a darker color deposit. Alright, so here you can see the results, and there are no missed spots, and everywhere on my scalp is fully covered. Now, if you're interested in what I used on my hair to get this clean of a blonde without using bleach, see my video above on high lift hair color.
All right, guys, that is going to be it for today. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful for you, and make sure you subscribe if you want to make every day a good hair day. Thanks so much for watching.